Good morning. How y'all doing? Everybody awake, alive, got some caffeine up in your veins, right? If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name is Don. My wife, Diane, who gave the greeting and prayed for us earlier. I did pretty good, didn't I? Right? Okay, I did good. We're the city group coordinators here at the church, and I'm excited to be here. Yeah, baby, let's do this again, right? Come on, repeat. We're the city group coordinators. We're excited to be here, and welcome to week 3 of a series called This Is Us, and we're talking about the culture of the church, the culture points and what makes us who we are. And if you're just checking this place out for the first time, you're VIP, you're walking through these doors, I really believe that this is a great series for you to slip into. You're going to hear the heartbeat of the church through this series. Stick with me for about 90 seconds because the next 90 seconds of our lives together will not be theologically correct, but it's okay, right? Stick with me. How many of y'all have been in a cab before? Like not a Lincoln, Uber, I'm talking a yellow taxi cab, right? Maybe like a New York City cab. Anybody been in a New York City cab? That's a whole different experience, right? You're on sidewalks, you're like bowling for humans. Right, it's crazy. It's 2 wheels, constant horn. It's crazy. Okay, so there was a cabbie who was in line for the pearly gates. He was in line for the pearly gates, and it was his turn, and he announced himself, and the angel looked in the book and said, "Yeah, there you are. Welcome to heaven." And the gates opened up, and the angel gave the cabbie a silk robe and a golden staff, and said, "Welcome to heaven." And he came on in, and there was a preacher that was behind him. Preacher's thinking, this is my time to shine, baby. I got this, right? I got this. And the preacher walked up, and he introduced himself, and the angel looked in a book, and his name was there. Amen. Okay, the gates opened up, and the angel gave him like this cloth robe and a wooden staff, like a stick. And the preacher's like, what's up? Hold on. He drives a yellow car. I'm God's man, what's going on? The angel looked at the preacher, and he said, well, when the cab driver was on earth and he spent time with people, they prayed, right? But when you were with people on earth, they tend to fall asleep, right? So help me out a little bit, right? I don't like slivers. Let's get a golden staff up in here. I'm excited to get into this. It's going to be a great week. We're talking about culture, and culture is a bit of a buzzword in the business community, and it's really more than a buzzword because it's got holding power. I own a business, and over the past decade or two, I have managed to accumulate about every magazine, about every business and entrepreneur and leadership magazine, like in print, in existence. I don't sign up for this stuff. I don't know who pays for it. They just ship it. They jam it in the mailbox, and it stacks up at my home. It stacks up at my office. But even though I may not read all these magazines, on the cover of each one of those is the word culture. Culture is a big deal. What we're not going to be talking about during this series is, as we talk about culture of the church, we're not necessarily talking about a lengthy mission statement of the church. That's not what we're talking about. And culture isn't even necessarily vision, and it's not even necessarily strategy. You can have the best strategy in your business or in a church. You can have the greatest strategy in your home, but if your culture stinks, if your culture stinks, your strategy is dead, right? You follow me? Tweet this. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's big. It's a big deal. Culture is huge. Culture, it's our iOS. It's our operating system. Culture is the way we think, the way we act, the way we interact. Culture is the shadow of the leader. Moms and dads in the house, you set the culture of your home. In a church, we can point to a pastor or pastors, and God's been pretty good to us, right? I mean, we love our pastors, Pastor Jason and Nicole. They love you. They love the church. They love God like nobody's business. And Pastor Jason can preach, baby. He brings it, right? Come on. But aren't you glad we got a pastor who points us to Jesus every week? Jesus is who sets the culture of the church. We don't follow a man. We don't follow a woman. We follow Jesus. He sets the culture, and there shouldn't be a big gap. If we were to write down some adjectives that describe Jesus, the way that we read about him in the scriptures, we could say a lot of things, and this is the way this church should function. Jesus was authentic, right? He was authentic. He was relevant. He was enjoyable. Thousands of people followed Jesus everywhere he went. Little kids jumped up on Jesus' lap, and kids don't jump up on grumpy grandpa. You know what I mean? He was enjoyable. He was powerful. He was generous, and that's what sets the culture of the church. Amen? Okay, so since we follow Jesus, we're going to get into his word. We're going to be in the 4th chapter of John chapter 4 this morning. Maybe some of you have heard this story before. Jesus encounters a woman at a well, and he offers this woman living water, but the disciples, they're a little bit concerned that Jesus might be a little bit hungry, right? So we're going to pick it up in verse 31. It says, "Meanwhile, his disciples urged him, 'Rabbi, eat something.' But he said to them, 'I have food to eat that you know nothing about.' Then his disciples said to each other, 'Could somebody have brought him some food?' Who slipped Jesus a Happy Meal? Or maybe carrots and hummus. He probably didn't eat Happy Meal, healthy, right? He's Jesus. 'My food,' said Jesus, 'my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work.'" What Jesus was teaching, he was teaching his disciples, my food, what fills me, what nourishes me, it's not me, myself, and I. What nourishes me is contributing into the lives of other people. The disciples, they were worried about consumption. Jesus was focused on contributing. And that contributing nature, it goes against who we are right from birth. Bet. We are selfish and we are self-centered right from birth. If you don't believe me, ask yourself this. Have you ever had to teach a child how to be selfish? Right? Have you ever had to teach little Johnny how to be selfish? Okay, today we're gonna have selfish lessons. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you a toy, and then I'm gonna take that toy from you, and when I take it, you're gonna throw a fit and you're gonna yell, mine. Right? We are selfish and self-centered right from birth, and Jesus is saying, I have a higher calling. What nourishes me is to contribute into the life of others. What fills me is doing the work and the will of the Father. If you're taking notes, write this down. This is our culture point for the week. We are contributors, not consumers. We are contributors, not consumers. If you're about my age-ish, and 30 plus years ago, you enjoyed fast food hamburgers, right? You might remember this. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle, onion on a sesame seed bun, right? If you walked into any Mickey D's and you ordered a Big Mac, that's what you got every time. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle, onion on a sesame seed bun. It was the promise, and it was good. It was good, right? But then something happened one day, and some of you in this place, you might even remember the moment. Something happened at a restaurant down the street. Burger King, they came out with a slogan, have it your way. You remember, right? Have it your way. It was powerful. Before Burger King, if you ordered a hamburger, you got 2 tomato, 4 pickle, lettuce, onions. You got a hamburger, 2 tomato, 4 pickle, lettuce, onions. That's just what you got. Burger King came along and they said, hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special orders, don't upset us, have it your way. Some of you are feeling really close to God right now. You remember the moment. This was huge. This was powerful. It changed everything. And if you were born around the year 2000 or so or after, you got no clue what I'm talking about. You have no idea. Trust us, believe me. It was big. It changed everything. All of a sudden now you walked in. You were the shot caller, baby. You were calling the shots, right? I want extra pickles. And you're going to do it. Or hold the onions. Or I feel like a mustard guy today, right? And 30 plus years later, the customer is still king. I heard a speaker talk about this, so I wrote down his notes. He said a company will promote their quality. They're going to promote their value, their style, service selection, convenience, economy, savings, performance, experience, hospitality, low rates, friendly service, name brands, easy terms, affordable prices, and money-back guarantee. Free installation, free admission, free appraisal, free alteration, free delivery, free estimates, free home trial, and free parking. No cash, no problem, no kidding, no fuss, no muss, no risk, no obligation, no red tape, no down payment, no entry fee, no hidden charges, no purchase necessary, no one will call on you, and no interest or payments until September. And don't forget to pick up a free gift, your classic, deluxe, custom, designer, luxury, prestige, high quality, select gourmet pocket pencil sharpener. Yours for the asking, no purchase necessary. Why? Because you are that important to us. Have it your way. No pickle, no lettuce, no fuss, however it goes. Special orders don't upset us. All of a sudden, we've got a consumer-centered society. We've heard it. We've heard the saying, right? The customer's always right. We've got a consumeristic mentality, and that's okay when we're talking about Whoppers, right? That's okay when you're talking about a McChicken. But the tragedy strikes when that consumer mentality slips into the church. Maybe you've heard this before. Probably not you and probably not here, but someone else, somewhere else. Maybe you've heard this before. We are church shopping, right? Heard that? We are shopping for a church. Or we just can't find a place that meets our needs. I don't know what that was. I'm never doing that again. But you heard this, right? This is common in a consumeristic society. It's a common language, church shopping. I found a video, and I think we can all laugh about this, and I hope it drives home the point. Check out the screen.
Nick and Molly just moved to the city and can't agree on what they want. They are young and energetic and looking for a new church home. We'll take some personality tests, tour the sites, ask some questions, and based on taste, experience, and location, we'll find them the perfect congregation. I'm Corey Clark, and welcome to Church Hunters.
We're so excited to find a church. We just started dating.
With the churches we go to now, just not, like, for us, just not really doing it for us, you know?
Right. I go to a satellite campus. I just find it hard to connect emotionally with a video screen. It's just...
Okay, you cried during Cake Boss. So, like, we've been doing a lot of services online, a lot of podcasts. There are a lot of preachers we do like.
Really good, but we want serious yet funny.
Yeah, like commanding of the stage yet relatable, you know?
We're more looking for the humor of Andy Stanley with the body of Stephen Furtick.
Hey guys,
What's happening?
I'm Corey.
Good to see you. My name's Nick. This
Hey,
is Molly.
Molly.
Hey guys, welcome to Church Hunters. This is your first church. This is Creekside First Baptist. So while it is traditional, it's still pretty current. Just this year, the pastor started untucking his shirts.
Oh, that's good.
Big deal.
He does dress his age though, so don't worry. He's past the Osteen suit phase, but he hasn't gone full Giglio yet.
Okay, so there's holes in the knees or no?
Well, it's frayed, but no holes.
Afraid? No. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So hey, let me show you around. Okay,
All right, let's
come on.
do it.
I do love this lobby.
It's a great lobby, you know. It's not too big, not too small.
Yeah.
Should be enough room to catch up, chat with your friends. But here's a great thing. There's a bunch of side exits, so if you need to leave early and catch the game, you can do that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Honestly, right up front, didn't love the name.
No, First Baptist? Who names a church that anymore?
Not these days. We're looking for like a
No.
Thrive Church, maybe Relevant Church, I don't know, Radiant Church, something.
This is the soundboard they use here. Now remember, it's pretty traditional here. So when Sunday comes around, they turn it way down low.
Got it. Yeah.
But the one knock on this church, they still use the child care numbering system on the screens.
Ooh, for the
Yeah. Or as the moms like to call it, the sanctuary walk of shame.
Yeah. The Sunday morning experience was just a little too traditional for
For us, I mean, the pastor's main point, 157 characters. I can't tweet that.
I really think you guys are going to love this place.
I like
We
it.
do. We like
Feels
it.
great.
Yeah.
You know, it's diverse, but it's not like too diverse, you know?
Scripture heavy sermons?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about, is it community oriented?
Absolutely.
Great.
Oh, women in ministry?
The parking situation, you guys got to see it. It's super rare nowadays.
it.
Come with me.
There's like a maybe for when my parents
leave it
come
at a
into
maybe,
town
yeah.
for a church for Christmas, Easter type of church.
Like a holiday type
holidays.
church.
One of the main reasons that I love this church for you guys is that on your personality test, Molly, you scored high in service and hospitality.
Oh, babe.
And there's a great welcome team you could join.
Okay.
And then Nick, you scored really high in need for accountability.
Wow.
And the men's groups here are amazing.
You're just gonna put that out there?
Hey,
just
God
like
knows
that?
your heart, okay? On the next episode of Church Hunters, I think you're really going to love this place. They take relevance to a whole new level. This church identifies as inter-non-denominational. This pastor speaks out of a brand new translation. It's the Tumblr Bible.
Afraid no holes, right? This week we're talking about something that we are. We are contributors, and something that we're not. We are not consumers. I want you to get this next part down. We're going to put it up on the screen. If you're a note taker, write this down. If you can write fast, get your phone out, snap a pic, whatever you got to do. I really want you to get this down. We are not spiritual consumers. We are spiritual contributors. We understand that the church does not exist for us. We are the church, and we exist for the world. Say this together. It is good, and we got to get this down. Let's say this together. I want you to at least give me the last words, right? I'm going to lead you there. At least give me the last words. What are we not? We are not spiritual. What are we? We are spiritual. What do we understand? We understand that the church does not exist for. Who are we? We are the church, and we exist for the world, right? We are called to be the salt and be the light of the earth. We got to get the message outside of these walls and on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, right? I want to make a disclaimer. Here's a statement. There are people in here that maybe you haven't crossed the line of faith yet. And you came in this place and you're just trying to figure this thing out. And can God be trusted? Is God real? What's the Bible all about? You know, what's this church thing all about? And you haven't crossed that line of faith yet. And if that's you, it is all about you. We mean that. You are the reason why we exist. But once you cross across that line of faith, once you've received that gift of salvation that you don't deserve, that I don't deserve, once we've received this gift, there's a switch that flips. There's something about it changes us to it no longer me, myself, and I, but how can I make an impact? How can I share this with the world? How can I make an impact on the world? If you're writing notes, taking notes, write this down. Number one, God calls you to serve in His church. He calls you to serve in His church. You are gifted, you are talented, and you have been called to serve in the local church. Touch your neighbor and tell him, you got a gift. You got to get. Turn to your other neighbor, your obvious second choice, the one you didn't pick the first time, and tell them you probably got one too. Okay, you've been gifted. You've got a gift, and we are called to serve. If you've crossed that line of faith, we're called to serve in the local church. Some of us, we're in this place, and we're at a place of consuming. We've crossed that line, and you're at a place of consuming. And maybe, just maybe, you're waiting for a confirmation from God before you make a move. Could it be that God's waiting for you to trust Him and take a step? Trust Him and take a step. Touch your neighbor, tell him, make a move. Make a move. 1 Peter 4:10 says this, God has given each of you a gift from His great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to advance your agenda and to get that promotion. Use them well to serve one another. We got to give it away. Romans 12 says we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it's serving, then serve. If it's teaching, then teach. If it's to encourage, then give encouragement. If it's giving, give generously. If it's to lead, lead diligently. If it's to show mercy, do it cheerfully. If you've been attending this place for more than a week, you know that we talk about next steps. We talk about growth track. Then we talk about growth track and growth track, right? You've seen Zach and Laura up on these screens talking about growth track. If you can hear the sound of my voice and you call this your church home, you call this your church home, I want to encourage you, don't wait. Get plugged into growth track. That's designed to help you to understand what your gifts are and how you can serve and plug in the church. We're called to serve and be contributors in the local church as we gather. All right, number 2, write this down. God has called you to serve as His church. God has called you to serve as His church, not only in the church, but as the church in the world. As the church in the world. Let me throw this out there. God never intended for the church to be a building. God never intended for the church to be brick and mortar. As a matter of fact, for the first 300 years after Jesus died and this Christianity thing spread all over the place like crazy, it was illegal to worship Christ. It was illegal until 313 AD is when Christianity, the way we know it today, was legalized. You would lose your head if you worship Christ in public. You'd be stoned to death. And I'm not talking about Woodstock, Grateful Dead, stoned. You would be dead. It was illegal, and churches didn't own buildings. God never intended the church to be a building. The great theologian Isaiah Thomas said, look up. Look up, look around. We're not even in a church, right? You are the church. I am the church. We are the church. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, He said this, maybe you've heard it before. Hear it again with new ears. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Let the world see your good deeds. We are called to be contributors as the church in the world. When you have conversations with people, do they walk away and say, something's different about that person? Why do they love me so much? Why aren't they critical? Why do they seem to be there for me? How come they're not so judgmental? And we will earn the right to point them to Jesus. Lions take the field today. 1 o'clock, right? Playing the Saints. We're going to be out by then. Lions are going to take the field at 1 o'clock. They take the Saints. Go with me here for a minute. Just imagine that the offense takes the field. We get the ball. And Stafford and the boys, they come out into the huddle. And they huddle up. And they're calling the play. They're talking about their assignments. They're in the huddle. They're gathered up. They're calling the play. The play is called in the huddle. Ready, break. And then they run over to the sidelines and watch. How ridiculous would that look? What kind of words would you say to your TV, right? And then what if they did it again? The offense comes back on the field. It's time to run the play. The play is called in the huddle. They're gathered. The play is called in the huddle. Everybody knows what to do. Ready, break. And they run to the sidelines and watch. How ridiculous would that look to the people watching the game? Church, we got to run the play. We've got to love people on a Tuesday, serve them on a Wednesday, be there for them on a Thursday. We got to run the play. I see a church that loves people so much more than we've received, that gives so much more than we've received. That's so overwhelmed by the love of God in our lives that we can just accept people the way they are, and sooner or later we're going to have an opportunity to point them to Jesus. Church, we are the hope of the world. You are the hope of the world. I've had lots of people in my life that I've seen them struggle with God's will for their life, and they've struggled with God's will for their life, and they're in a place where they're praying, Lord, show me what's next, and they stay in a place of consuming. Maybe we need to do something with the information that He's already given us before we get information. Jesus, before he left earth, He gave his disciples and he gave us information. He told us what to do. We know it today as the Great Commission. You've heard of that, the Great Commission. He said, go and make disciples. Go and baptize people in my name. Go love people, serve people, go make a difference, and I will be with you till the end of ages. He said, go love people, go serve people. The Great Commission is not the Great Suggestion. We are the church, and we are called to be contributors, not only in the church as we gather, but as the church in the world as we scatter. Would you stand as we close?